Hi, good morning, everyone. Yes, good morning. So, shall we start the session? Okay, wait for another 5 minutes. So, the next topic that we are going to study in the today's class is managing the project review and the technique or selection. So, in the last class, we have studied about what are the various project selection criteria or how we can manage the project that is used for the project evaluation and the project review and the selection. Next topic is how to manage them. So many more requests for the system development are generated than most firms can pursue. That means most of the firm can pursue for the system development that is generated for the firms, different firms, and someone must decide which request to pursue and which to reject. That means out of the available resources, out of the available alternatives, it's a responsibility of system analyst to decide which project or which available resource is fruitful for the project selection or the project review. And the decision is to accept or request a request that can be made in a number of the ways and by various members of the organization. So it depends on the managers, it depends on the organization, it depends on the system analyst. And system analysts are not the final arbiters. And one of the more common methods for reviewing and selecting the projects for development is by committee. So now what is the steering committee method, how it is useful, and what are the various terms that is used in the steering committee method. So in many organizations, steering, that is also known as operating committees, operating councils, or the project selection board. So that means this is a group of the two or the three people that is known as the operating committee or the operating council or the project selection board that supervises the review of the project proposal. Supervises means that control over the review of the project proposals, what are the various reviews of the project proposal. And the steering committee typically consists of the key managers from various departments of the organization. So it consists of the key manager that is available from various departments of the organization as well as the members of the information system group. However, system specialists do not dominate the committee. The information system being a steering committee referred in the gold old days of the information system at the beginning of the chapter that is available with the two information system specialists among its 10 members. There are total 12 members that is available. Two is information system analyst or specialist along with their 10 members. That 10 members includes the programmers, includes the maintainers, includes the organization staff, includes the managers. Now, these are the categories or these are the listing of the 10 members, so that typically ranges from the 7 to the 10% committee would consist of the following membership. Now, first one is the upper management. Upper management member, that is the executive vice principal, then vice president for the manufacturing. So one is the executive vice president, one is the vice president for the manufacturing. Then next one is the departmental management. So one is the upper management, next one is the departmental management that consists retail marketing or manager of the retail marketing, credit manager. Then third one is the technical managers who is taking care of the techniques or technical issues and any technical issues that also consist of the managers of the R&D, that is the research and development, and the quality control coordinator. Then fourth one is the information system group that includes the data processing manager and the senior system analyst. So one is the data processing manager, one is the senior system analyst that is also covered within the information system group. So this means these are the two, and after and beyond this two, there are total 10 members that is used as a system analyst members. Now, what is the task of this committee? Why these peoples are grouped together into one committee? So the main task or the main idea regarding the committee is to review proposals and evaluate them. And the major responsibility of the committee is to make a decision which often requires more information than the proposal provides. Therefore, investigation is often requested to gather the details. And when we talk about the steering committee method that have high respectability and the visibility to the review of the project proposal. That means they have a high respectability, they have a high capabilities and the visibility to the review of the project proposals. That consist of the managers with the responsibility and the authority to decide which projects are in the best interest of the entire firm. And the managers also provide the practical information and insight about their operations and their long-term development. Yes. Yes, listen. System specialist on the committee provides a technical and the developmental information that provides both the technical. If there is any technical issue, that also solved by the system analyst, as well as any developmental information. That means any development means any coding part, that is also providing and reaching the decisions about the project management, that is also taken care by the system specialist. So why most of them are using the steering committee approach? Because it is more often favored, because system projects are business investments, and the management, not system analyst or the designer, selects the project for development. Decisions are made on the basis of the cost of the project, its benefit to the organization, and the feasibility of accomplish the development within the limit of the information system, that technology in the organization. That means this approach is very fruitful. This approach is very favorable, because system projects are business investment. So whenever we are using the system project that are the business investment, by which the persons or by which the managers can invest for the next term, that is often favored, because system projects are business investment, and management, not the system analyst or the designer, selects the project for the development. Decisions are made on the basis of the cost of the project and its benefit to the organization. So when we talk about the steering committee method, that is very fruitful, that is very beneficial to the organization. And the feasibility, that means analysis of accomplish the development within the limit of the information system, that is also used in the organization. And this is the method that is used by the Peter Wellington, employer in the golden old days of the information system. That is, the golden days are remembered about the information system. So one is the steering committee method. Next one method is information system committee method. Information system committee method means what are the various term that is used in the information system. So in some organizations, the responsibility for reviewing the project request is assigned to a committee of the members, managers, and analysts in the information system department. So when we talk about the information system committee method, so the responsibility for reviewing the project request is assigned to a committee of the managers and the analyst in the information system development. And under this method, all the project or all the requests for service and development are submitted directly to the review technique or review committee within the information system development. An information system committee approved or disapproved project on the basis of the set priority. So if there's a priority, that indicates that which projects are most important and should retrieve immediate attention. That means which project has a high authority and requires the immediate attention, that is also faced or that is also covered in the information system committee methods. And this method can be used when many requests are used for the routine service or the maintenance on the existing systems or applications. So for example, when we talk about the information system staff members that offers a good insight to the project requirements, that is used by working with the other projects, that includes the system developers, that includes the information manager, by which the firm is moving overall. That is an important consideration for the effective project selection. But sometimes there may be conditions when there is a major equipment decision that can be made. That decision will be taken by the managers of the organization whether to proceed with the project. If there is a huge requirement of the technical support, if there is a huge requirement for the senior executives techniques, so that decision is taken by the upper management. However, sharing project decision authority may confuse users who want to know how the committee will make the decisions during or about a request. On the other hand, if the top managers and the system committee members are disagree with the merit or the priority of a request, then there is a conflict that interrupt or that disrupt the handling of the future project proposal. For example, system analysts agree with the information, but the project managers or the top managers and the system committee members, for example, out of 10, there are 5 members that are not agree with the merit or the priority of a request, then the potential for conflict then disturbs the handling of the future project proposal. In still other cases, users may attempt to submit a request directly to the senior executives after it has been approved by the information system committee. But if it is approved by the system managers or the upper management, that means that is valid. So give the priority to the information system committee. Then third one is the user group committee method. Just wait for 2 minutes. Next method is the user group committee method. That means multiple users can make the group, can make the committee, and they decide whether to proceed with the organization, whether to proceed with the system, whether to proceed with the components of a system or not. That is the user group committee method. So in some organization, the responsibility for the project decision is delegated to the user themselves, and the individual department or divisions hire their own analysts and the designers. That means there is a multiple department, that is the individual department or the divisions hire their own interest and the own analysts and the designers who handles the project selection and carry out the development. With this effect, departments from their own selections, users, group committees controlling what is developed and when it was or it is implemented. When it is implemented, why we are using the development, what is the use of the using the development. So that is all the case that is controlled by the system analyst and the designers. But although the practice for the developing or of having the user committee that is decide both choose and develop the system, that does not some of the or take some of the burden from the system development group, and it can have a disadvantages for the users also. For example, when you talk about the company's computer facility, that is also unduly strained if the system development team is not aware of the future demand. For example, they're not aware that we are using, or right now we are using the programming languages that is used for the development. They're using the previous C language for making the project that is planned out, that is not planned out throughout the firm. But some users may find that has been planned throughout the firm. But however, although users groups may find the decisions of steering committee and the information committee that disappointing at time, and the success rate for who take on the development job is not very encouraging. Now, how many members are available in this committee? That ranges from the 6 to the 12 members. Next one is other methods, other approaches that are used from the time to time, that are used, although used with less success than the other method that is already discussed, but other methods are also used in this one. Next one is investigation, that is the first phase of the SDLC. So whether a system will develop by means of the system development life cycle method, that is SDLC prototyping strategy, or the structured analysis method, or a combination of these methods, a project request should first be reviewed. So first of all, a project review will be accessed. First of all, a project review will be method that is used for the system development life cycle prototyping strategies, or the structured analysis method, or a combination of these. So whether to use the SDLC steps or whether to use the structured analysis method or the combination of these methods. Therefore, a project request should first be viewed. And the choice of development strategy is secondary to whether a request merits the investment of the organization resources in an information system project. So in an information system project, whether to review or whether to request for the merits of the investment of the organization resources. And it is advisable for all the proposals to be submitted to the selection method for evaluation to identify those projects that are most beneficial to the organization. So whatever the project that is most beneficial to the organization, that is submitted to the system analyst and see whether to proceed with the requirements of the users, or if the requirements are not met, or whether it is beneficial to the organization or not. And the investigation is carried out by system analyst working under the control of the selection committee. So first of all, the investigation is carried out. Then investigation is carried out by the system analyst under the conditions, under the directions of the selection committee. Now, what is the scope? Why we are using the investigation part? Why we're using the first term, that is a investigation. So main purpose is to evaluate the project request, whether the request that is carried out by the user, that is available from the user, is easy to handle, whether we are proceed to develop a new system or existing system, updations in the modifications or upgradation on the existing system. But it is not a design study. That means it is only an evaluation part or the analysis part. That is not a design study, nor it includes the collection of the details. This means it is not a design, it is only analysis. It also not includes the collection of the details to completely describe the business system. But it is a collection of the information, it is a collection of the material that permits the committee members to evaluate the merits of the project request and make some judgment about the feasibility of the project or the proposed project or the system. Now, what are the various terms, or what are the various objectives that is accomplished while using the investigation? First is clarify and understand the project request. What is being done, what is required, and why. So clarify the and understand the project request. What is being done? Why it is required? Is there an underlying reason different from the one the requester identifies? What is required, or why there is a need for this one? For example, when we talk about the user that justifies the request for developing an account receivable system on the basis of the faster processing. However, the investigation may also reveal that there is a need for the better control of the cash handling, overweight, the need for the speed, and when there is a processing problem, there is a real speed problem that the requester had not specified this specific need clearly. So first is clarify and understand the project request. Next one is determining the size of the project. Determining the size means determine what is the size of the project. Does a user or does a request for the user or course registration projects used for the new development or modification of the existing system? And answer to these questions will gather the details useful in the estimating the project. So one is clarify and understand the project request, then determining the size of the project, then assess the cost, that means evaluate the cost and the benefits to the organization of the alternative approaches. That means what is the cost required and what is the benefit uh, that we can expect from the system, and identify the cost benefit analysis. That means identify whether we are gaining the profit or whether we are losing the money. Then determine the technical and the operational feasibility of the alternative approaches. That means what are the various what are the various tools, techniques that is required for building a system that is a technical feasibility, and operational means how it operates, whether it is operating at the user desk, whether it is operating at the analyst desk or analyst end or the user end. That is the operational feasibility. That means how it operates. So this is given as an example. Does the necessary technology to link the office word processing system to the main computer exist or it is required or acquired, and how it operate? That means how information is operating on the sales information from the main system and insight into the typewritten report that is prepared on a word processor. Then report the finding to the management with the recommendations outlining the acceptance or the rejection of the proposal. That means report the finding to the management. Findings means identify the reasons to the management with the recommendations that outlines the acceptance or the rejection of the proposal, whether to accept or reject the proposal that is given by the given by the end users. For example, a proposal for the installation of an order entry system should be modified to show all the salesperson to submit their own or their order through ordinary telephone connections on a computer. Now, these are the few reasons why we are, or what are the various objectives of the investigation. So first of all, clarify and understand the project request, then determine the size of the project, then assess the cost and benefit of the alternative approaches, then determine the technical and the operational feasibility, then report the finding to the managements. Next one is how to conduct the investigation. What are the various techniques, or what are the various ways by which we are conducting the investigation? So data that the analysts collect during the investigation are gathered through the or with the help of the two primary methods. Now, what are the two methods by which we can conduct or by which we can gain the information, or analysts can gain the information? First one is reviewing the document. Next one is interviewing selected. So one is reviewing the documents, and next one is interviewing the selected company personals. First one is how to review the documents, or reviewing the how to review the organization's documents. Because the analyst conducting the investigation first learn about the organization involved in or affected by the project. For example, to review an inventory system proposals means knowing first how the inventory department operates and how the managers and the supervisors or analysts can usually learn these detail by examining the organization's chart. So by examining the organization chart, so there are various facilities by which we can check the analyst, by which we can check whether these details are examining or are given by examining the organization's chart and studying the written operating procedures. Now, what are the various procedures by which we can describe the inventory process that should operate and identify the most important steps that is involved in receiving, maintaining, and dispensing the stock? Next one is conducting the interviews. So first is review the organization documents, whether to proceed with the with what type of document that is required. The next one is conducting the interviews. Conducting interview means make the interviews or conduct the interviews from the users, that is what the users demand or what the users needs that is required. So written documents tell the analyst how the system should operate, but they may not include enough detail to allow a decisions. That means whatever the document that is available, that is okay, that should operate, but there are multiple cases in which the output or in which the information can be gathered from the interviews, from the face-to-face conversations. In that cases, interview is one of the best techniques. So that is not enough. That means the written documents are not enough to get the enough details to that allows a decision to be made about the merits of a system proposal, nor do they present user views about the current operations. And to learn these details, analysts use the interviews. Now, interviews also allows analysts to learn about the nature of the project request and the reason for submitting it. And to accomplish the purpose of the interviews, analysts must be sure to emphasize the request and the problem it addresses. So what are the various problems that is used? That means interview should further provide or should provide the details that further explains the project and show whether there is existence that is merited economically. That means it is very feasible to use the interview or schedule the interview. Also operate very well, and also there are techniques that is required for the interview. And usually the investigation interviews involves only the management and the supervisory personas. Next one is testing the project feasibility. This is conducting the investigation. This is done. Next one is testing project feasibility, means how to test the various terms, that is a testing feasibility. So there is a investigation that also examines the project feasibility, like the likelihood of the system that is very useful to the organizations. And three tests of feasibility are equally important, that are the operational feasibility, technical feasibility, and the financial feasibility. Operational means whether it operates or whether it is very or it turns out to be very beneficial for the organizations. Then technical, what are the techniques that is required for building a system, making a system. Then financial, that means what are the various money or what are the amount that is required to build a system. So the proposed projects are beneficial only if they can be turned into the information system that will meet the organization's operating requirements. And simply stated, this test of feasibility asks if the system will work when it is developed and installed. Are there major barriers to the implementations? And these are the various questions that will help test the operational feasibility of the project. Now, what are the various questions that is used in the feasibility or operational feasibility? Is there a sufficient support for the project from the management, from the users? Are current business methods acceptable to the users? If they are not, users may welcome a change that will bring about a more operational and the useful system. Have the users been involved in the planning and the development of the project? And if there's early development, that also reduces the chance of the resistance to the system, and change in the general category and change in the general and increases the likelihood of the successful projects. Will the proposed system cause the harm? If there is any harm in the proposed system that we are using the system, will it produce poor results in any aspect or in any respect of the area? Will loss of the control result in any area? Or will the system slow performance in many areas? Now, issues that appears to be relatively minor in the beginning, they have a chance of, or they have a growing into the major problems after the implementation. Therefore, it's not necessary to change, it's necessary to take the all the operational aspect that must be considered carefully. Now, next one is the technical feasibility. So technical issues usually raised during the feasibility stage of the investigation that includes, does the necessary technology exist to do what is suggested? That means, does the available technology or the necessary technology is available exist, or it is already available to do what is suggested and it can be acquired? Then does the proposed equipment have a technical capacity to hold the data required to use a new system? Then will the proposed system provide adequate response to the inquiries regardless of the numbers or the location of the users? Then can the system be expanded if developed? So if the system is expanded if developed, so it is suitable to expand the system, whether we have techniques to expand the system. Then are there any technical guarantees of the accuracy, reliability, ease of access, and the data security? For example, when we talk about the proposal, that also includes a printer that prints at the rate of the 15,000 lines per minute. Then a brief search also showed that this was a guarantee that means there is a proper security that will enable, that also covered in the technical feasibility. And whether it should be included in the configuration in an economic decision. Now, for example, or on the other hand, if the user is requesting voice input to write, read, and change the stored data, the proposal may not be technically feasible. So if the user is requesting the voice input to read, or voice input that is used to read, write, and change the data stored, that the proposal may not be technically feasible. Next one is a financial and the economic feasibility. That means in the money terms, we are taking about the system data. That means the economic and financial and the economic feasibility, whether to proceed with the system development, whether we have enough money to proceed with the system development or to make a new system. A system that can be developed technically and that will be used, installed, must still be a good investment for the organizations, and there's a financial department or there's a financial benefit that must equal or exceeds the cost. So whether it is equal to the cost benefits or it is exceeding or providing the profits. So there are multiple questions that is raised by the analyst during the investigation for the purpose of estimating the few questions. Now, what are the few questions that is estimating by the system analyst? So these are the few questions that is used for estimating the cost. Now, what are the few questions that is available in the economic feasibility? That is the cost to conduct a full investigation or the full system investigation. Then the cost of hardware and the software for the class of the application being processed. That is, what are the various applications that is processed by the system requirements, or what are the ways by which we can request for the system development. So that is the cost of the hardware and the software for the class of application being considered. Then the class nothing changes. That means what are the various proposed system that is not developed during the project. And to be judged feasible, a project proposal must pass all the three tests. That means these are the three tests that is passed for making the financial and the economic feasibility. And to be judged feasible, a project proposal must pass the test, and otherwise it is not a feasible system. So if the project does not pass all these three tests, all the three questions, that means this is not a feasible project. For example, when we talk about the personal project feasible, if the necessary technology does not exist, a medical system that can be developed at a reasonable cost, but that nurses will avoid using the cannot be judged using the operationally feasible. So that is not used as operationally feasible. That is not used with the operationally feasible. So there must be a requirement that is used for the system development, that is used for the feasibility study, that can be judged operationally feasible or not. Now, how to handle the infeasible project? So if there is an infeasible project, that means the projects are not feasible. So how to handle them? So not each and every project that is used for the evaluation and the review are judged acceptable. Requests that fail to pass the feasibility test are not pursued further unless and until they are reworked and resubmitted as the new proposals. In some of the cases, only one part of a project is actually unworkable, and the selection committee may decide to combine the workable part of the project with another feasible proposal. So that is used with the feasible proposal, that is continue or combine with the workable project of the part of the feasible projects. That means how to handle them, that first of all the main condition is that, or the main criteria is that is not each and every project is used, or that is not each and every project is infeasible, and they can be review for the acceptable or not. So review or the request that fails to pass the feasibility test are used as the infeasibility project, and they can be entered as a new proposals. And in some cases, only part of a project is actually workable or unworkable, and a selection committee that may decide to combine the workable part of the project with another feasibility or feasible proposals. And in still other cases, investigation produce enough information, enough new information to suggest that improvements in management and the supervision. So whatever the information, whatever the improvement that is taken out, that will taken out in the management and the supervision, not the development of information system or the actual solutions of the reported problem. So that is not that when we talk about the investigation, or when we talk about the gathering the requirement, there must be enough new information to suggest that improvements in the management and the supervision, that is not the development of information system, that are the actual reasons or actual solutions of the reported problems. Now, next part is a summary, that is what we have covered in this chapter. The first step in the system development life cycle is identification of a need. That is this is the user's request to change, improve, or enhance an existing system. If there is likely to be a stream of such requests, standard procedures must be established to deal with them. And the objective of the project selection. So what is the main objective of the project selection? That is used to determine whether the request is valid and feasible before a recommendation is reached to do nothing. So whether the project is, or whether the request that we are going to handle is valid and feasible before a recommendation is reached to do nothing. Improve or modify the existing system or build a new one. And there are 4 primary sources of the project request that is used. And there are multiple persons or the requester that is used inside the organizations or outside the organization. And few examples of the inside the organizations are the department managers, senior executive,